Hey y'all, it's Crafty Hope here, and I am working on some handmade Christmas tags. I've been wanting to keep myself busy while staying home and add a touch of handmade awesome to my Christmas gifts. Now, most of my wrapping paper is, I may try to put a picture of it at the end, but I've got a big red and green theme going with my wrapping paper. So while I was making some altered paper for the garland I made, I'll put a link to that. I went ahead and threw down some thinner paper, which are like dictionary pages and music paper and stuff like that, to get the ghost prints on my jelly print. And when I sprayed and inked some other paper, I picked up that excess with some of the papers and wound up with a nice variety of altered papers that I am using in this project. So you can see I took some of those painty papers and I tore them down into smaller pieces, and I'm using my Oohoo glue stick and gluing that down to just some plain old white cardstock. So you could do this any way you wanted. You could use any color scheme you wanted, or I don't know, the opportunities, what's the word I'm trying to say? The different ways you can do this are kind of endless. So you could use papers from books or magazines, or you could alter them like I did, or just any kind of papers that you have just to kind of make something. This might even be good for kids to just stick down some papers with some glue, and there's not a whole lot of mess since you're using a glue stick. So I'm going to do this for a while and come back and show you how my papers end up once I get them. I'm not going to fill them up completely, but it's going to be nice and covered. So here are my papers, and I am coming in with a couple of hand-carved stamps and some distress oxides. Now this happened to be December 5th, which was the 5th day of carved December, and that was a prompt of 5. So I made two stamps. One was a 5-pointed star that you see I'm stamping with candied apples distress oxide, and then I also made 5 rings, which I'm going to stamp with the Lucky Clover Distress Oxide. And that's all I'm really going to do here. You see my papers got nice and full, and I'm just going to go through this and stamp those things. This just adds a little bit of texture, and really, I don't know, kind of made my cards, my tags that I'm going to have here. It really added an extra element to them, and you can see that I'm stamping here, I'm trying to mix some of the colors up. So make sure some of the green is on some of the red, and some of the white pieces have a little bit of something on it. All right. So I think you get the idea here. And for a touch more texture, I'm coming in with a couple of sprays. One is a Nouveau Shimmer Spray in Antique Gold. Y'all, I love this spray. It didn't work out as perfectly as I'd hoped on these, but on everything else I've done, it's been gorgeous. And I'm also using some Dilutions. What is it? White Linen, which is their white spray. It doesn't come out as much. I think I had so much going on these pages that it's hard to see either of these sprays, but I just wanted a little touch of difference in color and texture on there. So I am just spraying both of these kind of randomly on them. And now I'm going to cut these down. I think this is one of my favorite parts of the process, is when you cut all of this kind of chaotic paper down into smaller pieces, you get these little gems of awesomeness. Now I've decided to cut my pages 2 inches by 2 inches. That's what I felt like would be big enough for me to write down either a name or my name and whatever name, and would also still have some of the background on there. So I'm doing that. You see I'm starting by, and I'm using a paper trimmer, and I'm cutting squares. Now if you want to make them look more like little shipping tags, do that, or you could use some other kind of punch to cut them into another shape. But I decided just little square ones, and excuse me, little square ones would be perfect. So that's what I'm doing. And I think the paper I had started out with was actually, I'm trying to think, it was like 8 by 10. I think was about the size of the paper. So I've got a little bit of excess of the paper. So that's all I'm really doing here is just cutting this down into those 2x2s. For an added touch on these cards, I've decided to use a corner rounder. I actually used this one and then I came back in with another one for some of the other ones to get a different shape of rounded corners. But I'm rounding almost all of them, and then I'm going to use some Distress Oxide and a little what is the detail brush around the edges. I use black soot on some of them, and then some of the others I use the candied apple, and some of the others I use the Lucky Clover. And then I've got a Sharpie paint pen here. On some of them I went ahead and put the Sharpie paint pen to put the white space, and some I used just some correction fluid and dried them, but I'm going to show you here in a second what I found worked the best. All right, so here you can see I pulled out a bunch of pens and I've got a stack of ones I had started altering over there, just kind of experimenting, seeing what I liked worked. And what I found worked really well was just some white gesso. I've got the Dino Wakely white gesso, and I'm painting different shapes. This one's a circle, some of them I'm doing little rectangles, some squares, some are stripes across the page. Just kind of looking at each of the cards and making a decision about what shape I thought would work best on it. See there, I started with a little square and I thought, nah, I'm just going to go and do the whole bottom half of that card with gesso. And so that's all I'm doing. Each of these have a fun little, I don't know, I'm keeping some of the details in them, but then adding a fun shape. I end up doing, I think, 2 layers of gesso on all of them to really get a nice solid place to write my names for them. So I'm going to show you one more of these, and then I'll show you the next step, which is the funnest part of this whole process. All right, let's get to that. All right, so here are my stack of tags that I haven't decorated yet, and I am coming in with a variety of things. That is just a Sharpie pen, and I've got, that's a glitter pen from the Dollar Tree that I'm accenting some little dots on there. And then I'm going to take a Posca paint pen in green and just make some dots around the inside of my gessoed circle there. And how cute is that? So we're going to go through a couple of these so I can show you different ways that I kind of added to them. I here I think I just do a sketchy frame around the white area with a food ball pen, and then I'm going to take my Sharpie paint pen and write the word joy just in big capital letters. I was trying to think of a bunch of different words that were kind of small enough to put on these, and I found joy and Noel and jolly, and I'm trying to think if there were any more. Even hope would be good, but I think that's confusing when I do it, so I didn't. All right, I've got another black pen there where I'm adding just little like stitch marks around the white area there. Now some of these are fairly small, and since most everybody's going to know when I hand them to them that the gifts are from me, I just did names on most of these, like who they were to instead of who they were from. So if you want to make sure that you get all that information on there, you could make your little white spaces bigger, make your cards bigger, and make sure you get that on there. But so this was my favorite part of this, is having these little cards and sitting down with them and decorating them with all kinds of different things. I found that really liked little dashes and dots and and scribbly lines on these. So here I'm doing a double circle of some gold paint pen, and then some fun circles. I'm using that black Posca paint pen, and then I'm going to put gold dots, I believe, inside of them. But first I'm going to stitch those together with just some little dashes and make I don't know, I really had so much fun with this process. I'm sure you could come up with other, if you can draw, you could add. I didn't find that stars were very effective for me with some of my tools, but since I had stamped the stars, that was perfect. Now I'm coming back to, now that my paint pen has dried on that Joy one, I'm coming in with one of my favorite just everyday pens, which is a Pilot V5 pen that's the, I think that's the extra fine point maybe. It could be just the fine point, but I love those pens. And I'm just outlining the word joy there. And then coming back in and filling in the center of that O. Now how cute. Done, right? So actually, I don't, yeah, I was gonna say, I think I'm gonna add something else, which is just a couple little dots. And again, that is those glitter markers from the Dollar Tree. Now you can see on this one, I had taken one of the stars and just put little dots around the star to accent it. And then I just added some little lines on that. Super quick, super fun. Like I said, this can be done by anybody. Here I'm going to outline the star a little bit. And this goes on, y'all. I had to stop at one point, I think, to go make dinner, and immediately wanted to come back and finish doodling on these because it was really just a fun little mixed media activity. So I'm going to play some music here and let y'all watch me do a couple more of these, and then I'll come back in a second and show you how I finish them off. So here I have all of my finished ones, and I am just taking a gel pen here and I'm writing to Mama from Hope and Pat on it. This one I did smear a little because I didn't wait for my pen to dry, but like I said, on a lot of them I just ended up writing who they were to on them. I found that worked out a lot better. And to attach it to my package, there's one of my gifts from my mom all wrapped up. I use that magical adhesive dots from the Dollar Tree. And so I'm just putting those on the back of my little tabs and sticking them down. And that's where I smear it right there, was putting it down. All right, guys. So I hope you enjoyed this. I'm going to give you some other pictures here. Let me know if you have any questions or comments. And I appreciate you coming by and watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. And have a Merry Christmas, y'all. Bye.